Hey guys, welcome back to Parkitect. In today's video, I'll be doing the January build challenge of 2021. So we did skip a challenge of last month, and also I haven't done a video on the build challenges in a while, so I kind of wanted to jump back into it a little bit. I might skip around month by month depending on builds I do. But this month's build is all about the calm flat rides. So I decided to build actually three. So you're going to see three different builds today. This video is about 25 minutes long. So let's get on to the first one right now. The first one is a magic carpet ride, and I'm going to theme it around Arabian stuff. The ride itself is called, I think, Arabian Nights, so kind of very generic name. I didn't really think names are that important right now, but I had some ideas to use shapes and things to get brickwork done. And the budget for all the rides, I think you start with $4,000. It's very, very small. And so the moment you place down on a flat ride, let's say the magic carpet ride, it takes out a big chunk. Sometimes it does, depending on the ride. Maybe it's 1,000, it takes off 1,000, so you have 3,000 to play with. So things like that. But yeah, this is going to be a fun one, I think, because decorating flat rides are a interesting way to kind of test out themes in like a secluded area in a way. So if it's like a small little flat ride, you can now decorate it around it, a couple tiles around it, to kind of exercise what theme you're going for, and things like that. So the other things that are in state for this type of build is that you still have to pick one generic theme and a regular theme, and then stay in the budget. And then you can't build more than one flat ride, you have to build one flat ride. If you build two flat rides, it cancels you out, and then it goes from there. So right now, as you can see in front, I built this nice, lovely little Arabian looking tower. Just testing out different things with shapes and things. I did some trickery with the windows, but adding this little fence to add to some like wooden decoration. I think that was pretty neat. And then I made this like looking arch thing in the front with the orange and the tan colors. And then I did this, I don't know what you call like this texturing on the dome. I think this is appropriate, and I think that adds a little bit more detailing or excitement to the dome versus just leaving it blank, because I do have a problem with Parkitect's things blend into each other if you place pieces that are the same color. So adding a little edges and things like that add detail. I think that's very important for a build of this nature. So right now, as I just kind of play around in the area, I need to figure out what needs to go in the next area. So I thought I was going to build like 3 buildings in general, but then that later turned into 2 not happening because I was testing out some brick ideas, but it kind of separates itself. So here's the problem. So if you build buildings in like a set theme, like Arabian, always try to make sure that they somewhat match their features. So like the matching feature between these 2 buildings, even though they're going to be completely different, are the brick corners. So the brick corners gives them that common ground, and then everything else about them have different things about them. Like this one here, this building over here is going to be my bigger building that covers most of the queue, not most of the queue line, but a portion of the queue line. It's going to be having with a tower and then a rectangle bottom with a like regular thatched roof, which is going to be blue, which I like this color. So they don't necessarily are the same building, but they match in that with the brick sidings, they kind of are in the same universe in a way. So it's kind of, you have to keep an eye on things like that. Just little details that you do kind of help in all this designing in general. Because I'm designing these buildings from scratch, so there's no blueprinting at all, no following any references. Actually, no, I follow references on this one. I found a picture art piece. Those were actually really cool. And that kind of inspired me to do the Arabian theme first, and then I went on to the next couple attractions. But right now it's just working on just finishing up the details here and things like that. As you can see, my cursor just moving around means I'm moving music around or setting a different setting on another screen. It's funny, but yeah. I barely edited these videos. I kind of just sped them up a little bit faster so we can just go through it quicker. So I might pause my talking here and there because I'm trying to get my thoughts of what I actually worked on. I worked on these like a while ago, so they've been on the workshop for at least, I think, 3 days, maybe 4, since when this video goes up. Yeah, maybe 4. And then yeah. Let's see here. Oh yeah. Flat Ride was having an issue. It was having some weird testing bug where it stopped testing and things, and that was weird. So I just kind of made the ride stop working, so ignored it. On to finishing more details. My budget was still pretty large at this point. 1,300 is a lot for scenery, if you think about it. This is at the end of my build, so at this point I finished both buildings, so they're done. Now it's time to do some actual detail work. So we'll do some awnings here and there, some pavilions with some cloth. So I chose the medieval theme because it's the best one closest to Arabian, because I can make it into Arabian stuff by adding tones and other brighter colors. And then I did this text thing with the edge of the building, so I was just testing out a different metal decoration. It's not important, but it was just a test in a way. So I just kind of tested on the edge of the building. It kind of worked out. Repainting some of the walls into a more neutral colors, with a tan and then a brown outlining for like a dark wood or something. So that's kind of what I was doing. I tried to do some, what was it called, shutters. Didn't work out, but I did put these ledges on this building on the windows. I think that actually brought up the windows a little bit more. Do I put it on the first tower? I don't think I do. I'm just putting junk around right now at this point. See, with $900 left, I have like so much to like put in. I don't think I used all my budget actually. So right now, I felt like there should be curtains in the queue line, and so I took the medieval flag and just kind of stuck them inside. And they actually work out as like little curtains, so the guests are kind of protected from the sun. I think it's cool. It adds a little bit more detail, and it adds a life to it. So this should be done. Adding rocks and trees. I didn't want to use the Taste of Adventure, not Taste of Adventure, what's it called? Booms and Blooms trees, because I wanted this to be as vanilla as possible, but I just used the Taste of Adventure's text signs, so it kind of was null and void. But if you don't have the Taste of Adventure DLC, you put this thing in, it'll just delete that one item instead of like a whole bunch. So getting rid of the Booms and Blooms trees actually works out. So I kind of wanted to make sure that most of the builds that I did were all very vanilla, even with without Taste of Adventure. Well, Candyland and Adventure are not allowed in this build, so there is that. And same thing with the other flat rides that were introduced. But here you go. There is the Arabian Nights, the first one. So this is just a quick overview of what it looks like. I think it's cute. It works out pretty well. I had a lot of fun doing it, so I jumped on to the next one. So the build time for this was about 1 hour, not 8. Oh my god, jeez. It was about an hour. So now on to the next one. So after doing Arabian, we have to do something completely different. So this time we're going to do a sci-fi motion simulator, and this one's called Space Cadet. So this one, usually when people build a motion simulator, they place it on the floor. So I decided to bring it up and then hide the queue line going underneath it, and then build myself a like space facility of some sort, or a spaceport. It could be both a spaceport and a training facility, but I mean it's called Space Cadet, so that's fine. So just figure out my materials, a metal bottom with a concrete base in a way, and then the space windows I'm using with the modern windows that kind of give it that space look. And then I did some bordering around the actual motion simulator, kind of suggests it's a landing spot. I want to hide the, what do you want to call it, most of the ride's platform actually away, so that we can, make it look like it's a landing place. I'm also testing out different ideas. See, going back from pieces to pieces, like, so you'll place a piece down, let it sit, let it stew in your head, maybe think of an imagination of what it could be, and then if you don't like it, get rid of it. That's what I do basically. That's why those pipes or poles are just staying there. So those are supposed to be either fuel tanks or radar towers. I didn't like them, so I removed them. I'm also trying to figure out the size of this little building in the corner, and it works out, but I think I change a little bit of it. I think I bring it out more. But also, I don't want things too close to the motion simulator, because if you do build a box around it, it does clip a little bit. So I want to keep things away from it as best I can. Even though it really doesn't matter, but to me it does because of my I know it's gonna clip. These little black arches are actually the hedges that I painted black. I felt like it would be appropriate to make them look like an extension tube that would get you closer to the spaceship. So that's kind of what I did here with the hedges. So using pieces that are, again, not intended. So those are hedges, so they're plants, but now I made them into a rubber tube, so I think it's cool. So I've used this technique before on a playthrough of the moon on Taste of Adventure, so that was fun. Changing the paths to match the platform again, and then added a yellow square instead of circles to hide the white light of the flat ride, and then lights to kind of make them shine. I could have used the controller to make them blink back and forth, but again, I don't want to use too many DLCs, as some player cannot use them. So I'm going to limit my use on that on purpose. I do use a DLC in here. I use a door, but that door is just one door, so the door just deletes. So again, I try to focus, but again, I've been playing with both DLCs for this long at this point that I just don't remember. It's like the challenge. Oh yeah, when I had the job to do the sandbox, the default sandbox maps for Parkitect, the 4 that are in the game now, the Western, Sci-Fi, Fantasy, and Spooky, I had to use no DLCs, so I had to figure out what I was using and what I was. It was so weird. I had to figure all that out, and that was a challenge and a half. Oh man, but that was a fun little project I had to do for the game. So if you haven't checked them out, go check them out. They're actually quite adorable. They had a little bit of a interest to things like that. So yeah. And now on to adding pipes and theming from these fuel tanks that kind of just connect to the thing, and then a tower of like some, I think that's the flight control. That's like flight control, I would say. And then Space Cadet. Now the one couple things are to add some details in the front, because I think the front kind of empty, kind of barren. So we're gonna fix that in a second. The boxes just kind of look cool, just kind of laying around. Some awnings. Yeah, I think at this point, I think this is one of my favorite builds. It's a sci-fi build, so it's kind of already in my wheelhouse. So that was fun to kind of experiment with. Also, I wanted to use more frames in this build because it's sci-fi, so frames work out really well. Oh yeah, and then a fence. Yeah, a fence was later added because I felt like if guests were really on here, they needed to, walk away or not fall off. And then adding a little bit of a space atmosphere, so the rocks of a orangey color, and then like little orb tops on top to kind of make them that weird, I don't know, spacey look. I've done this before on some of the other build. It's kind of a weird thing, but it makes the atmosphere weird, right? It's an alien planet of some sort. So well, I just did that, and then an awning over here to help with the exit. Yeah, more rocks. That could be a hidden Mickey back there, actually. How funny. Ha! Well, oh, a hidden Astro. How would that be? How would that work? Gotta think about that now. Okay. So, still adding junk and random things on the platform here. Made some fuel tanks, or these little fuel rods. You can call them fuel rods. With the racing borders and a cylinder on top to make the cap. And then some mushrooms, which are actually not from the fantasy pack, they're from the generic pack, so that actually helped out a lot because I didn't have to use another theme. I tried to do some pipe thing here, didn't work. I think it was just too much clutter. Sometimes its simplicity is the best way to go from there. And then here's a little cover for the front of the ride, and I felt like this needed to happen, so we did some piping. Out of shapes. That took a while. Not really, it took only like 3 minutes. That's like not a while, but the whole build in general right now, I think this build was like an hour and 20 minutes. So just a little bit longer than the flying carpet ride. But I think it worked out pretty well because I liked all the little outcomes that came out with it and all the little details that are input. Oh, this error. That error happened quite a number of times actually. So that was like a patch ago, but that got fixed. So yeah, the game was like freaking out that mods were not enabled or something. It was weird. So and here's a quick overview of Space Cadet. So we have a motion simulator hooked up to some fuel tanks. We got the main building where the satellite dish is your queue line, and then a control tower for dispatch of the spaceship, and then your entrance is covered in pipes, and then an atmosphere of some rocks. So there's Space Cadet. Now onto the last one. The last one's going to be a carousel, because why not? We need a carousel in all our parks. But it's not going to be your normal carousel. This carousel can be themed to Halloween. So I was still in the Halloween type of mood, and I called it Spirit's Dance. And I wanted to kind of imitate the carousel I made for the Costa Rica Challenge in October. So instead of a pumpkin, I decided to go for a skull head with a top hat. So it's Mr. Bones, basically, on top of a carousel. This one's not that imaginative. Oh, well, it's imaginative. It's just, compared to my other work, it's not as good. But I still had fun doing it, because there were some little details in here that I had to figure out, kind of put in. And it's a way to decorate a not dark ride, oh my gosh, it's a flat ride. Jeez. A flat ride, but then still make sure that you know what it is, because I did see some other builds on the workshop that completely cover up the flat ride. You don't know what it is until you place it down. I do have a problem with that. I think it would be appropriate and proper to show what it is so that the player knows what they want, and then they go for it. So, and also to still have a theme on it to kind of expand upon. So again, with most of my builds, I want the player to expand from that theme. I want them to try to imitate some of the stuff. It's a way to inspire and to get you to learn new themes or new designs or whatever you want to call it. So it's going to be a very simple covering over the Ferris wheel. I was going to leave an opening on top to suggest that there's a Ferris wheel. It kind of looks cool with this stripey effect. That later changes, that goes away 100% because that's where the skull head's going to go later. Just figuring out just the layout at this point. So there's no detailing yet, you can tell. That's later. So figure out your layout first, your roofing, your walls, your pathways, all that good stuff. And then you can go ham on the detailing, like borders, windows, smokestacks, lights, plants, path lamps, the chairs, all that good stuff. On top of the roof is just some shapes at a diagonal or a 45 to kind of give it that thatched wooden look. I kind of like doing that technique. It's my favorite thing to do. And then burial grounds, my favorite thing to do to cover up the well, burial grounds are good to add like dirt that's piled up on your path, like it's dirty. And it's very appropriate that it was part of the spooky theme. So all this was the spooky theme, and I got majority of it out. So there's the wonderful start of the skull. So I took the Parkitect skull, kind of looked at it, and I noticed that it didn't have a nose, so I'm going to kind of copy that. And no, actually I do put a nose, because I think the nose, without a nose it kind of looks weird. So there's the hat. Do I do it? Yeah, I do it at a different angle this time, just to kind of make it different. Try to do some teeth. Teeth were kind of a difficult thing. I was kind of having issues with that, but I had ample time to kind of figure that out. Again, this build was about an hour long, I think. Yeah, there's the nose. Right here it looks like a snowman. I think that's funny. Yeah, no, it looks good here so far. Just figuring out, this is where I do some cylinder work and some discs to kind of give it like a ridge on his skull. That kind of worked out. I don't know, I just was having just more difficulty with this skull face versus the one that I did for the Costa Rica Challenge. So yeah, sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not. And in this case, it was kind of hard. Yeah, see, I tried to do bottom teeth and that kind of didn't work out. It kind of made it look funny and weird. So some glowing eyes that will glow at night, help it with the atmosphere. And I just kind of finished up the skull. It kind of was just, I was like over it. So I still had other things to finish, like that tower in the back, and some more detailing, changing the roof to make that building different from the carousels building, and then I added the spooky pavilion with those little windows, and I think that actually makes it look neat. And then the pavilions with little wood slats that come out of a grid space, those are cool to use to kind of add detailing to borders without doing shapes if you don't want to. So I kind of just save on pieces, even though I still have 1,800 on this budget still, which is still pretty good. There we go, some more shapes, cubes. Yeah, see, shapes and cubes are my favorite thing to use if you don't know that at this point, but that's a way to go if you want to add more details to things without really, I don't know, adding other pieces. Well, every piece is a shape, technically speaking, so there's that. So right now, I think I'm just mulling over what to do next. I think my problem right now is thinking that the roof around the carousel is kind of very plain looking. It needs texture. I could just make them different colors to kind of disdain them, but yeah, I don't like it. So this is where the crazy shapes come in, where I just do a whole bunch of little shapes. And now that we have the ability to do the 10 grid with the cubes and the shapes, I was able to make this just very simple thatched looking thing and just kind of copied it over a couple times. And then I did one corner and then I copied that a whole bunch of times. And this actually works out really well. And actually gives this roof a little bit more of a wood texture. Now it kind of matches the rest of the materials that I'm using. But yeah, and then I darken the color so you can see the slats. Because again, they're the same color, they kind of blend together. That's weird. So I kind of disdained it a little bit so that we can see it. And then I went from there. So there's one corner. Now I need to just blueprint it. Come on, blueprint it. I must be doing something else. I was doing multiple things the day when I was working on it. There, blueprint it, copy, paste it, done. Still not done, there's still more detailing that needs to happen. So a little graveyard seems to be appropriate for it. Some skeletons, lamps, lights, some plants that are kind of just growing out into weird places. The little building is not done yet. It's almost done, it's just there's some details that need to be built on that thing. Some candles. I was going to do some bigger props, but that kind of didn't work out. And then trees needed to happen because you needed somewhat of an environment that kind of matches the rest of the theme of the build. And then back here I did a little shelf full of coffins, and I think that was kind of just a weird thing. I don't know why, but it just kind of felt like it needed something back there to kind of get if you were like building this into a middle of a park or something and you wanted to, all details need to be around it, so that's what I kind of did there. And then made sure all the colors for the carousel matched pretty well. And then I tried this light thing on it to make it like a carousel wood, kind of festive, but I kind of lost interest in doing that, so I kind of just copped out and just did the string lights on a couple of the pillars, and I kind of worked out from there. And then I did some closing in on the walls at the bottom of the carousel to kind of just make it more complete, and I think that actually worked out better. Moving the smokestack over so that we can give some more windows, and then added a border to the Halloween windows to give it that more detail. And then there you go. It is now a finished carousel spirit stance. So that is all 3 builds for my build challenge for January. Go check them out on the workshop. They're right there, up there. I suggest you join in as well, and I will catch you guys in the next episode. Bye.